There's a saying that I have a hard time remembering. I believe it's from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but I'm not sure. But to paraphrase, it says, "Who says it cannot be done? And what amazing and grand accomplishments does this person have to their name that qualifies them to judge the capacity of another?" I learned this when I was relatively young, late teens, early 20s. And it's a question that has really opened my mind and constantly makes me question what is possible. And it also has drawn my attention to how much we're told very ignorantly and arrogantly, because the very nature of the statement, "it cannot be done," is one that is astronomically arrogant and ignorant and foolish in the very nature of the claim, and proves the ignorance and lack of qualification of the commenter to comprehend, let alone attempt, the feat he or she is claiming cannot be done. Because to claim that something cannot be done, you must also claim to know every possible way it can be attempted. The mechanics of the circumstances which create an apparent restriction and our potential to create methods, techniques, or technologies to overcome those circumstances. So in other words, this person has to be God conscious, has to know past, present, and future of all beings that will ever exist, in order to know whether it will ever be possible, or is possible, to overcome the apparent limitations of a circumstance that seem to make something impossible. Therefore, it is an extremely ignorant and arrogant and foolish statement to say that something cannot be done. Now, that is in a general sense. There is a relative sense in which it could be said that something cannot be done in a given amount of time, with a given limitation to available techniques, technologies, knowledge, etc. Only in a very relative, restricted sense could anything be said to be impossible. And even then, only relative to the understanding of the person can it be said, and therefore, it still is relative to that person's awareness and understanding, and therefore it cannot be said to be completely true. Because someone's incapacity to do something is relative to their knowledge, their skill, and their ability to access control over their circumstances. Nobody knows our full potential. Nobody knows if we were capable of using all of our mind power, all of our faculties, and draw on the energy of the universe, whether you call it spirit, or the force, or the quantum field, whatever your background in terminology. The statement that something is impossible is an extremely arrogant, ignorant, and foolish statement. So I urge you, based on this understanding, of the relative and limited understanding of a person in order to even make this statement that something cannot be done. To reject any claim of a limitation to your potential in any way, shape, or form to do anything. Real scientists admit that anything is possible, just mathematically improbable. Maybe the relative calculation which says that it can't be done, or is unlikely to be done. But even in that calculation, there are limitations to your ability to calculate the possible circumstances. You are still working with fixed relative understandings that you are using to calculate the possibilities, the probabilities. You're still assuming that you know all the variables involved in what it would take to accomplish the goal, which you can never fully be certain that you know. Because what you know is limited to your own knowledge and experience, and the knowledge and experience that you have gathered from other people, which may or may not be accurate. This is why I say to you, disregard all claims that something is impossible. And keep in mind what Einstein said, because it is absolutely true. To whatever extent science is certain, it is not accurate. And to whatever sense it is accurate, it cannot be certain. Because the more you study a thing, the more intangible you find it to be. Nothing is set, nothing is fixed. Therefore, the variables that apply to any given situation and any given possibility are impossible to calculate. Because the variables are always changing. And there's always going to be something that you don't know. To claim that you know all of the variables and all of the possibilities that apply to a given situation is to claim all knowledge and all wisdom throughout all of time. Only those who achieve God consciousness have access to that level of information. And speaking as somebody who has experienced, for limited periods of time, God consciousness, and has been shown the nature of reality and how it works, I can tell you for a fact, from personal experience, that anything is possible. Because this reality is an illusion that is relative to our minds. It is changeable. Therefore, there are no variables that it is impossible to change. Only a relative limitation of the mind trying to achieve it.